Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. Winston Chester, and glad you're here today. Got a great show lined up, but first let's get started. Our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center. And we're into some pretty weather. We're talking about a high into the 70s, a high maybe 72 today, and a low only down to 53. So we're getting this what I call this pre-spring weather. We're just real tickled about it. I know you are too. We're going to have a short weather because we have Stan Kirkland on. We got some really good information and all. But I want to share some things now for dates and all. Looking at our dates, make sure you understand that the season will be closing out on gray squirrel on March the 2nd and also quail March the 2nd. This weekend, I'm going on my annual quail hunt with my buddies from up there in Quincy and Gaston County, and we're all excited. I look forward to that every year. So quail, you can go this weekend and get a chance. The quail season sort of winding down also. Now, also an announcement here, don't forget, the following weekend, March 1st, at the E.O. Wilson Biophilia Center, you have the black bear, become a black bear is what they're talking about. So we're always talking about so many bears and all we have in this area. You actually look at some of this stuff here, and we'll talk more about it. But anyway, that should be interesting. Also, I want to share a picture of Tom Gurley, our resident outdoor photographer, takes a lot of pictures at the state park and all. Check out this. Look at the clarity and all on this young buck out there standing under the state park. And folks, be careful. Of course, Tom has telephoto lens and all, but don't get too close to them. And speaking of deer and all, about that size, that's about the size I shot at St. Vincent Island. I hope you enjoyed that video yesterday. I want to thank Walter, my son-in-law Walter Woodruff, for doing such a good job on it. But it just goes to show, we talk about a lot of basic fundamental things, and as experienced as I am in the outdoors, I was so busy, I didn't get a chance to practice with that muzzle loader, and that was the first time I shot it. So I'm giving the blame right there. Because, of course, it wasn't a mistake on myself because I've never missed a deer before standing broadside. Seriously, I haven't. But I just was not used to that hair trigger, and just as I touched that trigger, I had a gun about right here, and that's how I missed that buck. But anyway, that's enough of excuses. We're going to go ahead and take our break, and we're going to be coming back with Stan Kirkland. But always remember one thing. Always remember to practice before you go out there. I knew better. All right, let's take this break. Welcome back and welcome Stan Kirkland.
Good morning. Good morning, Winston.
Lieutenant Stan Kirkland with FWC.
I'll answer to anything.
Okay.
That's okay.
But it really is Jackson County boy at roots.
Yes, yeah. In fact, I was up there last night. But
oh yeah.
Yeah. How you been?
I've been doing great. How's your family and all?
Good. I heard you just got a hunt in on St. Vincent Island.
Hey, listen, we have a video, folks. The video is finished. We just haven't had time to put it in, but probably maybe Monday or Tuesday of next week, that video will be here, and you're going to really, really enjoy that video. We had a great time.
Yeah, that island is a beautiful place. Yeah. It's not totally like it was back in the 1800s, but it is as close to an undisturbed place as you can go. For those of you that have never been, it's a national wildlife refuge. You've talked about it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
and it's about 12. I think it's like 12 miles long.
Yeah, it's 11,600 acres. It's funny you brought it up because, of course, we just started talking. But Ronnie Groom was on yesterday, and we talked about it also.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm glad you did because Ronnie and I was telling him about it now because we all went in the 70s. And I said, now you can ride your bicycle. He looked at me and said, you ride your bicycle? Because back then, all the roads were just sandy roads.
Very sandy.
You couldn't ride your bicycle then. But over the years, they've added some oyster shells on some of those roads, so you can ride your bicycle on the main road and sort of walk off of that and all. So that's made it a lot, and it's still natural because oyster shells are part of that area down there. So
part of the environment, right?
That's correct. So
if I can tell you a very quick story, back in the 70s when I moved here, I was the new man with GFC then.
Yeah.
And Tom Garrison, who was our regional manager, he said, I've got something I want you to do. And this was in 1978. And I said, sure. I was new, green. I said, whatever. And he said, I want you to go with a group of ladies on a field trip. And I said, ladies? And he said, yeah, this is a group of ladies. Well, the youngest was in their 70s, and I had a couple in their 80s, and they had set up with a refuge manager, a guy named Martin Perry, to go to St. Vincent Island, the National Wildlife Refuge where you went. I had about 15 or 16 ladies and a couple of them using walkers, and I had to get them from their, we had to carpool down there. I felt like Morgan Freeman on Driving Miss Daisy. We had to get them on a barge, from a car to a barge, get them in a barge, and then get them to the island, and they rode them around on they had this wagon thing, and we stopped and had lunch, and I was worried one of them was going to fall out or have a heart attack or something, and you know, they wanted water and drinks, and I would have to go, and anyway, I was never so, they were a nice group of folks, but I was never so happy to safely get them off the island, off the water, and back to the mainland.
Well, you know, it's a challenge on that island for healthy, strong people. I can imagine that situation.
Well, the island, though, is incredible. I don't know if you've ever read the history. Dr. Pierce, that that developed the Pierce Air car on the island at one time, and put all kinds of everything from eland to he put all kinds of African game animals on the island, and in fact, the sambar deer are of course still there. Did y'all see any sambar while you were there?
We did not. One of the guys from here that I ran at all kinds of different parties down there, 4 or 5 different hunting parties. I knew every one of them, and a boy named Mike Davis saw one. He actually had a video. He showed me the video when I ran into him back in town 3 or 4 days after that.
Wow.
He stopped me on the road, waved me down, and he had a GoPro camera on his gun, and had a sandbar, beautiful, walk out in front of him. He could have shot it a dozen times. Of course, the season wasn't open for them, but beautiful, and all. So he did see one.
Yep, great place to go and visit if you've never been. No bridge over there. You have to go by boat or barge over there. But anyway.
Okay, what's going on with you now?
Well, Winston, on the subject of deer hunting, I was up in Jackson County last night and had the opportunity to measure an incredible deer. This deer is going to be this young lady that killed this deer with a bow and arrow. Well, this is the same deer. This is the deer the young lady killed last year.
Okay.
She's 25 years old. She's a school teacher at Sneads Elementary School. And the kids are really impressed that their teacher is not only smart and pretty, but she's also a hunter, or huntress, I should say.
Well, that goes a long way in Jackson County. Then,
yeah, she killed a 10-point that measured 128 2/8, and the paperwork we did will go to not only the Florida Buck Registry, but also we'll go to Pope and Young, and she will be only one of about basically roughly 24 people that have ever in the history of Florida have recorded a deer with a bow that scores over 125. Wow. And I think, I may be wrong, but she may be the only lady on that list.
Wow.
But her name is Marissa Ballard, and her dad Alan Chasen and I grew up in the same area there in the Grand Ridge. Alan was from over in the Grand Ridge area. So anyway, but good family and good to visit with them last night.
Well, I know that was a lot of fun seeing that. We've seen the picture of it. That was an awesome deer.
And I'll bring some more photos in. I got in late last night, but I'll bring some photos in to show it. But they're having it mounted now, and it's an incredible deer.
Okay.
Yep.
We're going to take a quick break and be right back. All right, so what else is going on, Stan?
Well, Winston, you mentioned we were talking about deer. The commission, commission is meeting right now in Tampa, and they're going over a number of things. One of the things they're going to discuss or have a status report on is the tweak to the deer regulations. It'll only be a status report. They're not taking any action, but coming up at the April meeting in Tallahassee, the commission is going to go into another discussion and take a final vote on the change to our deer regulations here in the Panhandle. It'll only be initially in the Panhandle. This is basically going to be about a 5-year process, but what they're talking about doing, and I've talked about this before, I don't mean to belabor the point, but just so people know, South of the interstate is going to be known as D1 or Zone 1 or Deer Management Unit 1 south of the interstate. North of the interstate is going to be known as Deer Management Unit 2. This is in the Panhandle. You'll be, if the rule passes in April, and again, they're going to discuss this and take public comment, but if the rule passes, there'll be a 2 points on a side antler requirement south of the interstate. North of the Interstate 10, it'll be 3 points on a side. They're also talking about changing the antlerless deer days, and all of this, let me say this, and I should have said this up front, is driven by stakeholder input. It's what people are telling us, and we've done, I can't tell you how many meetings we've had. We've done stakeholder surveys. We've had people to get involved. We've had a small group of 25 individuals that met with us that were representative, and this is what's driving this stakeholder involvement. But the bottom line is we're going to also reduce the number of antlerless days south of the interstate. We're going to go to 4. Right now we have 7. We're going to go to 4, and north of the interstate we're going to add 1 day. And again, that's what people telling us. They want to see bigger bucks. They want to see more. They want to see more does, and so that's one reason we're tweaking those regulations a little bit. So we'll see what happens, though.
Well, and I know like I say, that's input from the public and all,
right.
And also your biologists and all. They have input on it also, and
right.
And they see a lot of it too.
Yeah, our staff have actually, we've met with other states. One of the questions that we get, and I was talking about this with somebody the other day, they said, Stan, why don't you put a bag limit in place? Why don't you require people to tag every deer? Why don't you require people to call in every deer so you get more accurate information? And I can tell you, those all sound good on the surface, but we've tried and we've discussed some of these things, but there's always when you involve the public, when you involve that process, there are people that say, you're taking away our freedoms by requiring us to do this. And so we've discussed some of these things, but right now we're leaving the bag limit essentially at 2 deer a day. Most people don't kill 2 deer in a season, anyway, those are the major changes, though, that are coming down the pike. And we'll see, again, something could happen to derail this, but I don't think so. I think it's going to, the way it's looking, things are going to go through.
Yeah, no, I think all people I know are all in favor of it. It just makes a lot of sense. It's real simple.
And Winston, one final thing. There is a provision that if you've got a youngster under 16, that if they see their first deer that's a spike that's got 5-inch antlers, it's not illegal for that youngster to take that deer.
Oh, good.
So, there's some common sense built into it, but it also is going to rely, this rule is only going to work if people accept it and abide by it, and because a lot of this is, people buying into it.
Okay, and I think, like I say, all experienced hunters and outdoorsmen, I think, would be in favor of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And so the commission wrapping up the meeting and all, and so.
Yeah, they're discussing they're having some discussion rather on some saltwater issues, but no action being taken that affects us up here.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to take our final break. We'll be back for our last segment, okay? Welcome back to the final segment of Panhandle Outdoors. We're here with Lieutenant Stan Kirkland, going over all the rules and regulations, making sure everybody's on the same channel and the same page and all. But first, let's look at our fish and game forecast brought to us by Mark Cowart of Edgewater Beach Realty. Mark is an excellent outdoorsman in his own right and loves to watch the show and talks it up, and is a great positive influence on a lot of good people. So let's look at our times. We're looking at 10:56 to 12:56 this morning. Well, right here in the middle of the day, about 11 to 1. And then tonight, 11:18 to 1:18. Like I said yesterday, I won't do that night one, but I tell you, that lunch one really looks good, Stan. If we get off about an hour or two early at lunch, your boss will let you.
I'll have the skillet ready if you catch the fish. How about that?
Your boss will let you go down to the Deer Point Dam or something for an hour or two.
Oh, yeah. Yep, you're right.
Okay, well, we had something.
Well, Winston, the final thing I wanted to mention on the commission meeting is one of the things the commission is looking at is changing the bag limit for wild turkey. They would, if this proposal goes through, They're talking about changing the bag limit from one bird a day to two birds a day. So in other words, you would still have a 2-bird total season bag limit for the fall and a 2-bird bag limit for the spring. But if 2 gobblers walked up under the discussion and you wanted to shoot both of them in one day, you could. Right now you can't. In Florida we have a 1-bird bag, a 2-bird season bag limit, but there is a discussion about this.
Yeah, I'm sitting thinking about this, and I just, I don't just what you're talking about a while ago about the division and units and all on the deer and all that, on the antlers and all. I'm all for that, but this particular rule right here, I don't see why anybody would want to shoot 2 turkeys in one sitting in one day or something. It just doesn't make sense to me. I know you're. I understand, but let me say this: the thrill, and I've been on turkey. I'm not a huge turkey hunter, but I've been on a good many turkey hunts, and the thrill is getting that one gobbler coming back and forth and calling them up and all that, and then taking that one turkey. And then you take that, and then for another turkey to walk up, that's no challenge, no thrill to me. I don't.
Well, Winston, I've heard that same comment. The way if the rule as it's written passes, your season would be over if you kill 2 birds.
Yeah.
So you couldn't hunt anymore.
You could go to open in the morning and the first 30 minutes and your season's open.
And you could be done.
Yeah, that's
so now this again is just for private property, private lands. The way it's written, it does not apply to public lands. But again, that's a discussion that's being had. They're also looking at one final thing. They're looking at adding a month to the legal season for the take of bobcat. In other words, right now they can only be harvested in December, January, February, but they're looking basically at adding the month of March to that. I'm not sure what if there's a biological reason or if that's just I'm not sure what the exact reason for that is, but they are talking about adding one additional month to the period where you can quote unquote take bobcats.
Well, that was my question to you. If you had any research on that, but adding a month to it now,
I don't think there's any research at all.
I get a lot of pictures and all. I sort of gauge the turkeys and the deer and the fish and all that.
Right.
And I got one bobcat picture, and it was a nice one. Jeremy got that one, and it's up there around the Youngstown area. But that was a nice bobcat. I didn't get a lot of bobcat pictures. I don't think they're heavily hunted. It doesn't seem like.
No, they're not. In fact, this past year, one was a beautiful female bobcat was hit by a car and right near our office on the road going to Deer Point. In fact, you travel the same road. She was crossing the road there near the subway. There's a small church after you turn off of onto Highway 2321 from 77, and she had gotten out in the road and was hit by a car. Beautiful bobcat, though.
Yeah, she was probably headed down to my way. Eat some of the cats and all in there.
There you go. There you go. Winston, one thing too, a couple other things I wanted to mention. One thing, there was an article in the paper this weekend about coyotes or coyotes, however you want to say it. And I've had a couple of calls from people asking if there's anything to fear from coyotes, and there's really not. Coyotes are basically a dog. They're in the dog family, the canine family. They've occupied the range that the red wolf historically occupied in the eastern United States. They have filled that niche. They're a predator. They're a carnivore. They're an omnivore. They eat animal matter. They eat vegetable matter. They'll eat roadkill. They'll eat anything. They're a scavenger. But they're also, where it comes in and affects you and I, and you just mentioned cats, they will prey on domestic cats. There's a very well-known study that was published in the Journal of Wildlife Management, and this was a peer-reviewed study. Journal of Wildlife Management is a highly respected journal for researchers and people who have papers and studies that they want to share. And in this study in Tucson, Arizona, of 36 times that this group of radio-collared coyotes or coyotes came in contact with cats, domestic cats, you know, the cats you turn out of the house, and 18 of them, they kill the cats. So the bottom line is, if you have a cat and you live in a woodsy area and you turn that cat out, you're playing Russian roulette.
Yeah.
Because if they come in contact with them, they will certainly prey on them. So anyway, so hate to be the bearer of bad news, but they will. And we get a lot of calls from people, and they want us to do something. They want us, you know, they want the coats to go away, but you know, they're here to stay.
Yeah, and there are a lot of them out there and all.
Yep, they are. They're here to stay.
Do you get a lot of predator hunters? You get a lot of feedback from them?
No, not.
There's a little small group that are they predator hunters? They game call them in.
There's a few, Winston. In fact, a lot of the outdoor programs, you know, you see. There's one called Predator Nation that I see on the Sportsman Channel, I believe. But predator hunting, like coyotes primarily, and to some extent bobcat, is very popular in the Midwest, where you've got places you can see. In the South, where it's thick and all, it's just not as conducive to that. There is a growing interest in wild hog hunting in the South. It's just gone, you know, it's gone nuts. People are looking for opportunities, and that's a good thing. But that's probably the fastest growing segment I see, is people that are getting involved in that. And also, there's a great need for people with hog dogs to help. In fact, recently a group of guys came up to Eglin, I understand, and they caught, I forget now, it was 15 or 20 wild hogs in one hunt.
Wow. And
these guys were from South Florida. They brought their dogs up, and in one hunt, they just had a blast.
So they'll take these hogs and
they use them. The hogs cannot be transported alive.
Okay.
You have to have permits to transport them. So when you catch a hog like that, they've got to be dispatched.
Yeah. You know, just about 30 seconds left. Right. My granddad used to catch them, and that, you know, in the hog. I know you're over in Jackson County. They used to catch them back in the 30s and all to eat.
Well, they would call it fattening. And they'd catch them. They would cut the hogs, castrate them. They'd put them in a pen, and then they would fatten. And I'm not sure they ever fatten. You could feed them from now on, and they still look like a Piney Woods rooter.
Well, they thought they were fat. Just
I know it. They felt good about it.
All right, Stan, got to get it. Thank you so much, buddy.
All right, see you, Winston. Always enjoy it.
Thank you, folks, for watching Panhandle Outdoors. Do something good for somebody. Have a great day, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.